The most dangerous part of a burning building is a facade. A facade is the front wall of a building. A parapet wall, a marquee, a canopy, and a cornice are all part of a facade. They collapse and kill firefighters. During a fire, a parapet wall can collapse like a giant stone wave, crushing firefighters below. A marquee can collapse and pull the parapet wall on each side down with it. A canopy can collapse and pull the front brick wall down. A burning cornice can suddenly collapse at one end, swing down across the front of the building, killing firefighters at the other end. This video will show you how to size up a facade. It will help you identify the 4 deadly construction features of a facade: a parapet wall, a marquee, a canopy, and a cornice. It will show you how and why they collapse during fire. And most important, this video will tell you safe firefighting practices that can save your life.
First, let's define some construction terms. A parapet is a continuation of an exterior wall above the roof level. A parapet wall gives a building an appearance of greater height. A marquee is a large metal structure attached over the entrance to a theater or store and is used to display signs about the show or the store. A canopy is a cloth, wood, or metal covering over a building entrance designed to protect people from the weather. A cornice is a horizontal ornamental construction along the entire front wall of a building, usually near the top. Fire officers responding to a fire in a building which has any one of these structural attachments as part of its facade must consider it a collapse danger. During the firefighting operation, a parapet, marquee, canopy, or cornice must be monitored for failure. The following are case studies of several facade collapses.
Chicago, 1910. A canopy collapse caused one of the greatest tragedies in the history of the fire service. During a fire in a stockyard building, a canopy collapsed, pulling down a brick wall. 22 Chicago firefighters were crushed to death, buried beneath tons of rubble. New York City, 1956. A marquee collapsed, pulling down with it the brick wall on each side. 6 firefighters died. New York City, 1962. A metal canopy and brick wall collapses, killing another 6 firefighters. Falling bricks landing on top of the metal canopy caved in the canopy on top of firefighters operating below. Altoona, Pennsylvania, 1985. A parapet wall collapsed and killed a firefighter. The top section of the wall broke and fell on the firefighter as he exited the building. Los Angeles County, California, 1990. During a fire in a row of stores, a 160-foot-long cornice collapsed. The cornice collapse started at one end of the store and killed a firefighter operating a hose line at the other end. Mount Kisco, New York, 1991. A cornice collapsed and crushed a firefighter operating outside a burning store.
When we examine the causes of these collapse tragedies, we find there are structural design weaknesses which make a parapet, marquee, canopy, and cornice unstable. Firefighters should know these construction hazards which can cause a collapse during a fire. A parapet wall is a freestanding wall. There are 3 basic types of walls: bearing walls, non-bearing walls, and freestanding walls. A freestanding wall is the least stable kind of wall because it has the fewest connections to the structure. A parapet wall built over a 1- or 2-story commercial building with large display windows beneath it is a collapse-prone structure because stores with large display windows often have parapet walls supported by a narrow steel beam. A small shock during a fire can topple a parapet down onto a sidewalk. An explosion or the impact of a master stream or aerial ladder can cause a parapet wall collapse. As little as 2 or 3 pounds pressure from an explosion can collapse an 8-inch thick non-bearing wall, and 3 or 4 tons of water speeding through a nozzle at 100 feet per second can topple a parapet.
Another structural weakness that can cause a parapet to collapse is an unprotected steel beam which supports it. If during a fire this unprotected steel support beam is heated and begins to expand, twist, warp, or sag, it can collapse a parapet wall.
The temperature of a fire is usually between 1,000 and 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. At 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit, steel loses 50% of its strength and starts to fail. Long before the steel fails, look for expansion. At 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, a steel girder expands more than 1 inch for every 10 feet of length. This means a 100-foot-long girder can grow a foot in length when heated by a fire. A New York City fire in a row of stores caused a steel beam to expand, causing a bulge in the parapet wall. During the fire, the bulging section collapsed, pulling the entire 100-foot wall on each side down with it as it collapsed. Sometimes a freestanding parapet wall is used to support a marquee, canopy, or cornice. Now you have an unstable structure supporting another unstable structure. A marquee support beam passes through the parapet wall and is connected to a roof beam behind it, or cables of a canopy are held up by a parapet wall above, or a cornice is attached to the front of a parapet wall. This is bad design. If the marquee, canopy, or cornice fails, it can pull down the parapet. There are 3 basic beam designs: simple support, continuous support, and cantilever beam. A marquee is a cantilever beam. This is considered the least stable kind of structure. A cantilever beam is supported at one end only. A simple support beam is supported at both ends. A continuous support beam is supported at both ends and the center. If a cantilever beam behind the parapet is destroyed by fire, the marquee can collapse, pulling the wall down with it. Another cause of marquee collapse is overloading due to water buildup. When this happens, a marquee is like a swimming pool hanging off the front of a building. If the drains from the hollow portion of a marquee are clogged by rubbish, it can fill up with water from the hose streams and can collapse, pulling the front wall down with it. A canopy is more of a collapse danger than a marquee. A canopy is a cantilever beam like a marquee, and it is also truss construction. A good description of a canopy is a truss roof supported at one end. A canopy framework consists of small sections of wood or steel bolted together, held up by steel cables. Like a truss, a canopy is only as strong as its weakest connection. If a bolt, section of framework, or a cable fails, it can trigger a complete collapse. A canopy prevents firefighters from placing ground ladders to windows and rooftops above. Instead, firefighters place ladders against the canopy and walk on top of the canopy roof. A portable ladder should support the canopy from below. The canopy roof is not designed to support weight. If not braced by a ladder, it may collapse and firefighters will plunge through or collapse the canopy roof. A canopy which has many points of connection has a greater chance of failure than a marquee which has few connections. The most dangerous type of canopy is a metal or wood shed suspended over a truck loading area. It is designed to protect workers and products from the weather. These corrugated tin or wood canopies found on buildings in the older sections of town are covered with tar paper. Old skylights, originally designed to provide light on the platform below the canopy, are sometimes tarred over. They look like scuttle covers on top of the canopy, but collapse when stepped on. Also, adding to the collapse danger of a canopy is a system of tracks and rails suspended from the underside. Heavy products unloaded from trucks or railroad cars are attached to the rail system and pushed inside the building. The weight of the rail system adds to a canopy collapse danger.
Firefighters must realize a canopy is not a porch roof. It may look like a porch roof, but it is not. Firefighters should not climb on top of a canopy nor operate beneath a canopy when there's a danger of collapse. A canopy is supported at one end only. A porch with columns is supported at both ends. Firefighters should not stretch hose lines on top of a canopy or place ladders on top of a canopy unless it is braced and supported by a portable ladder from below. A lesson learned from past collapse tragedies is the area beneath the canopy should be considered the same as inside the building. So when there's a collapse danger, not only withdraw firefighters from the burning building, but also withdraw firefighters from the area beneath the canopy.
To gain access to windows or roof above a canopy, raise an aerial ladder or tower ladder above the canopy to the building. It is safer. A cornice can be defined as a portion of the roof extending out beyond an exterior wall. A cornice is also a cantilever structure, like a marquee and canopy, but there is one difference. A cornice can be combustible. A cornice burns and spreads fire along the front of a building, sometimes to an adjoining structure. A cornice has a wood framework inside and/or wood shingles outside. A concern a fire officer should have about a cornice, in addition to fire spread, is collapse. After flames destroy a cornice framework, it can collapse off the facade. A cornice can also collapse when struck by a powerful master stream or a ladder placed forcefully against the building. A ladder weighing 100 pounds, striking a cornice can equal 500 pounds due to the sudden impact. This can cause a cornice failure. If a cornice falls suddenly, it will crash down like a wave of death and destruction. Firefighters operating at one end of a building can be crushed under a falling cornice that starts to collapse at the other end. Most firefighters in America killed by collapse are outside a burning building. Outside a burning building is just as dangerous as inside a burning building.
Safe firefighting strategies for operating hose lines and ladders near a parapet wall, a marquee, a canopy, or a cornice in danger of collapse are: 1. Place firefighters and apparatus outside the collapse danger zone. A collapse danger zone is a distance away from the front of the building equal to its height. 2. Flank the fire. Place master streams and ladders in cornice-safe areas away from the facade on each side. 3. Raise and operate aerial streams above the dangerous parapet, marquee, canopy, or cornice. So if it collapses, firefighters and apparatus will be outside the collapse danger zone. 4. Support a canopy. Use a portable ladder as a brace from below. And remember, firefighters killed and injured by facade collapse in this video were operating outside the burning building. Outside a burning building is just as dangerous as inside. Decade after decade, America's firefighters continue to be killed and injured on the fire ground in exactly the same way. There are no new causes of fire ground death and injury, only new firefighters. We are the only new factor in the equation of fire ground death and injury. Firefighters who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it. Do not forget the facade collapse dangers you saw in this video. Good luck.